Now, to weigh in on the ongoing constitutional review process and advocate for a clearly defined constitutional role for traditional rulers in Nigeria's governance structure, we're now being joined by Olumobi, Dr. Jacob Haastrup. He is the Olumobi of Imobi Ijesa Kingdom in Osun State, and the Director of Corporate Affairs and Communications, Southwest Council of Traditional Rulers of Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
I think they say Kabiesi. Thank you for being on the news tonight.
Thank you.
Yes, so let's get right into it, because at the recently had public hearing in the Southwest, we heard from traditional rulers, including the Oni of Ife, who said that the traditional rulers are not asking for powers, but for recognition and to be allowed to advise government. Would like to ask, why is that so important? Why do you want to be recognized? And how would that actually help governance structure in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. Traditional institutions were the bridge between the government and the people. Talking about the three tiers of government, local government, state government, and also the federal government. Apart from the advice role that we are supposed to play to advise them on issues happening, you know, we are very close to our subjects. We are the closest group of institutions to the community. And in terms of anything happening in the nation, talk about security, talk about responsibility from our youths and other things, the traditional institutions need to play a vital role to make sure they advise the government and to make sure that they assist the youth to behave well, you know, in terms of what we see in our nation today, insurgents, this Yahoo boys and other things like that. The traditional institutions, you know, are well respected and were placed there to talk to our community, both the youths, the women, the men, both young and the old, to make sure that they participate in supporting and to attitudinal issues, so that we have a peaceful nation, we have a peaceful community, and that's what some of the roles we need to be playing as traditional rulers in this country. And that's why we're asking that we should be put in the constitution. Traditional rulers should have a role, not only recognizing us, but to let it be in the constitution that we're also useful, you know, which will be part of governance in this nation. I'd like to actually commend Senator Lalong, who also proposed a bill, he sponsored a bill on setting up a council of traditional rulers in Nigeria, so that government would take it over and set up the body. Also, I'd like to commend the federal government, you know, in terms of the Federal Ministry of Regional Development, setting up various development commissions. You know, we have the Southwest, we have the Northeast, some of others, which I believe will definitely bring development to the various communities. And by that, more jobs will be available for our youths, and they will keep away from all this banditry that is happening everywhere.
Right, no doubt the traditional institution has been playing a very, very significant role, whether in the area of security and all of that before now. But what you are asking, it should be constitutionalized. What difference really would it make, number one? And there is the argument that if the role of the traditional institutions is constitutionalized or, you know, codified, it may chip away from the democratic institutions. And there is also the challenge of the possibility of abuse by the traditional institutions.
Well, there will not be any abuse. I've been propagating traditional rulers institutions is a very great one that has to be respected, and I believe that anybody that is placed in that position must be a man of integrity, a king that his people should listen to, a king that should, you know, esteem and also promote the culture of the society. It's important, you know, because before now, we were not well treated, you know, by all these three tiers of government, the federal, the state, and local government. But when it's institutionalized in the constitution, it's settled, you know, we'll be able to raise our heads up to say that we're part of this. And we will be called, whatever is happening, we can make reference to the Constitution that we have been placed. It has been to play a very vital role in terms of what we do. But if we are not involved, if the institution is not in the Constitution, then we'll still be pushed away, we'll be pushed aside. Nothing will be happening.
Is that what obtains now? I mean, when you say you're not being treated well, in what specific ways, really, can you tell us?
Well, what I'm saying is that we're supposed to be called from time to time. The government, they're supposed to get us involved in whatever is happening in this country at every stage of what they are doing. Every policies, the national institutions should be included in the, making the policies be part of the system and other things like that. And that is what we're praying for, and that's what we're asking for.
Okay. Your Highness, traditional rulers once held central authority in governance, were powerful. Even the colonial era recognized traditional rulers because they even used the established structures in some parts of Nigeria. How did the institution lose that influence? How did it get so bad to the extent that you see governors insult traditional rulers? Some say it's because traditional rulers now dabble in money politics and they've lost their influence in society. How did it get so bad?
It's kind of unfortunate, in Yoruba land, there's what we call in Yoruba, Ijoba governance. It came out from the king, Oba. But suddenly, the politicians took over, and some of them are in the traditional institutions, some of them recognizing traditional institutions. I'm not saying that we might likely have one or two traditional institutions who are, playing very unfavorable role, who are mingling with the politicians. But it's not supposed to be like that. We are traditional institutions, kings, emirs, obis, and others. We are father of all. We're supposed to be custodian. We're supposed to accept everyone. We're supposed to accept everybody in politics. But because of what you said, one way or the other.
Money politics?
Well, might be there, but some other factors also goes along with it. And at the end of it all, it changed. The governor is actually supposed to be waiting for the kings, but now
the kings
wait for the governors.
And talking about the governors, we've seen in some states, the governments have worked well with traditional rulers, others not so much. And we can name those states where there are issues with traditional institution, coronation, installation, and all of that. What would be an ideal framework? Are you even asking for that framework in this constitution review? And let's talk about money, because money is important. Are you also asking for some sort of financial autonomy? What are your requests in this review of the constitution?
Well, there's no way that we have traditional institutions in the constitution without allocating budget to the institution to run the affairs of our communities. Of course, presently, we're having a percentage from the local government to the traditional rulers. But by the time we have the traditional rulers placed in the constitution, of course, it will be more, and we'll do more, because what some of the traditional rulers are getting from government is a peanut. And most traditional rulers were using our own resources to run the affairs, because there are so many pressures from our subjects, and we must attend to all the pressures. We must find a way out of it, in terms of poverty, in terms of you have to give scholarship to some of them, you have to feed some people and other things like that. We actually wish to spend a lot of money, our resources, into the institutions. But
I'm wondering whether this will not create another set of challenges where you would need funding from the federal government, and then of course the issue of political interference is still there. The issue where governors actually at will remove traditional rulers and install who they want. How do you insulate the traditional institution from this political interference? And apart from what you're asking for this codification, there are other demands that the traditional institution is asking for, things like restructuring, state security, and all of that. Maybe you want to speak to that before we wrap.
Well, it's kind of unfortunate that we're having governors removing traditional rulers. The system It's not supposed to be because the institution is not from the governor. You know, it's a traditional institutions. You know, for everywhere, you know, there's a process of getting a king on the throne. You know, there's a process, and that process has to be fulfilled in all our regions. You know, whether in the north, whether in the south, whether in the west. You know, there's the process. The traditional process must be followed. But when that is not happening, of course, we're having problem in terms of governor dictating what is happening, and by having that force on the traditional institutions, of course, we become toothless bulldog. There's nothing we can do when everything is that whatever the government says is final. And what happens to traditional institutions? So some of us, and I know a lot of people who have decided to focus on our people, make sure they are responsible, make sure there is peace and tranquility in our domain. You know, and I also say, you know, that if there is any traditional leader in any part of the world that is harboring criminals or supporting them, because you can also see that because of money, because of other influences, you see some traditional leaders giving chieftaincy titles to kidnappers.
We've seen it played out.
Yeah. So those ones should be dealt with, you know, in terms of discipline, you know, with some special and things like that. Until when we have the institutions needs also be jiggling, you know, for us to have what the gods have said about having a traditional leader in a place. And when that happens, there will be peace everywhere.
Thank you so much. The Olumobi of Imobi Ijesa Kingdom, Osun, Director, Corporate Affairs and Communication, Southwest Council of Traditional Rulers of Nigeria. Kabiesi, thank you very much
You're most welcome.
for joining us on Newsnight tonight.